Yeah. Hi. How are my teeth? Probably not good. All right. This is real estate agent training. So we're going to talk about buyer agency. So what is it? What does the public expect and think? Like I heard the other day, well, we found the house, we're not even sure what they did. And that is kind of a flawed philosophy at this point with the advent of Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, 541sold.com, real estate websites. Okay, so let's start there. Our job, first off, is to meet with the buyer. Okay, you're a buyer, you found the right house, you just want to see it. We got a lot of questions that need to be answered first to make sure that we're acting as professionals, right? That's why we always want to have a buyer consult. Question number one, what's your current housing situation? Are you renting? Oh, you are. Okay, cool. Are you in a lease? Oh, you are. Okay, when is your lease up? And what is the cost for a lease break fee? And or are you willing to finish the lease out and also make mortgage payments, right? So timing. You need to be aware of if you can actually make a move right now. Question number two, how are you going to be making this purchase? Fair enough. Are you what? Are you pre-qualified with a lender? Great. Do you have your down payment? Do you understand what closing costs are? And if you're not pre-qualified, what can we do to get you pre-qualified? Do we need to get you on some sort of credit correction thing? Maybe you have no credit and just need to get a credit card, make a few payments so you actually have a score. If you're cash, we can't take cash from a safe. Is it in the bank? Do we have proof of funds? Are you going to owe taxes on this cash before you make your purchase? So those are some of the first qualifying questions. And then on top of that, if it's a couple, which typically it is, or if it's an individual, we need to figure out where you want to be, what price range you're comfortable with, which is typically going to be a function of your qualification status, when the ideal time to buy is, and what a good deal looks like to you. To me, a good deal is completely different than what Denise is wanting, or what Logan wants, or what Dane wants, right? So first you meet and figure out, like, okay, let's sit down for a few minutes. Let's save the buyer a bunch of time by getting these questions answered. So now we have these questions answered. We know what you can buy. We know what a good deal is to you. We know where you want to be, and that's going to help us in our search. So that's kind of the next step, is the home search process. It used to be, there was a book. You had, let's say this is the book. You had the MLS book and you were a real estate agent. Only the real estate agent knew what houses were for sale and what their prices were. The only way a buyer would know would be driving all around town, calling all the real estate sites. Call on that you want to buy a house for $250. Call on this one, $350. Call on the next one, $300. Call on the next one, $325. You're wasting your time. Super inefficient. Super inefficient. So what happened is now we have the internet. The MLS has sold its soul to the devil and distributes through what's called an IDX fee to a bunch of different real estate websites. So now, in 2019, what's happening is the buyer gets the same information that the realtor does at the same time. So we don't necessarily, as real estate agents, have the advantage anymore for the home search part that we used to have. It used to be the book, and if you want to know what something was, you'd have to call me, and I would look through the physical paper pages and find 10 houses that were in your price range. And there were no photos, and so we'd have to go look at them to see if they were worth anything. So now that's completely changed. So it is very common that the buyer finds their own house, and here's why. You've got it on your phone, it's 7 o'clock, and from 7 to 10 every night, you and whoever you're with are looking at every single listing and every single photo with a level of intensity that only you're going to have if you're looking for your house. So it is very common that a buyer is going to find their own house, because we may have 5 buyers and we can't possibly look with the same amount of intensity for each person all the time that the buyer can. So instead of thinking, I found my own house, think, how great is it that I was able to find my own house? Now I can ask questions that I don't have answers to my agent, who now can express their expertise in this particular field. So we do our best to find houses for our buyers. We still take listings, and we can tell our buyers about things that are not yet on market, but that's really our only advantage in the home search process. Is that fair?
Yeah.
They're looking, If I'm on Craigslist or whatever looking for cars, right, I'm looking at everything all the time until I find the one. Then once you find a few, then we hook up with the agent, we get you inside, we schedule the showings, and the expert is now going to determine, is this priced well? Is this actually a good neighborhood? Does this fit the criteria that we talked about? You said you wanted RV parking, and there's no way to park a boat here. Is that okay? And if it is okay, then we move forward. So finding houses, that's kind of a toss-up now. And then once we find a decent house, our job really gets into writing the contract and the negotiations. So in real estate purchases, you can win and lose on the details. Inclusions, what's included in a sale? Is the fridge included? Is the range oven included? Are they leaving the furniture? Are they taking the furniture? When is it going to close? Can we move in before it closes? Does the seller need time after it closes? And closings when the house is the buyer's to move out. And then getting into inspections and repairs. So that's really where the buyer agency comes into play. We get you into the houses. We give you advice on what a good deal is. We can also help you avoid some pitfalls as we're walking through the house and we notice that you step by the toilet and it's soft. We know that there's probably an issue with the toilet ring leaking. Or we can usually take a look at the roof and make a snap judgment as to whether or not it needs it. Because that's where our expertise is in the actual housing and then also in the negotiations. How long has it been on the market? What kind of financing do you have? What kind of offer can we write that the seller's going to be more apt to accept if there's a multiple offer situation, and or to structure the offer in such a way that the buyer's out-of-pocket expenses are lower than they thought they could be. We have a couple different ways of doing that. One of them is asking for seller credits, for buyer's closing costs. So we negotiate, and then once we're in escrow, the buyer agent's job, right, is to make sure escrow gets opened. So we open. We ensure that earnest money is deposited at the title company. So EM stands for earnest money. We schedule the home inspection, right? So we do the inspection. We open the door for the inspector. So get the home inspection scheduled. It is the buyer's agent's job to be there for the home inspection. If your client is going to be present, you need to be present. Otherwise, home inspector is usually about 3 hours. You open the door at 9, and then you do a walk through the inspector, say at noon. So that is something the buyer agent needs to physically be there for. They're going to get a good idea if there's any major concerns the buyer has. The buyer's agent should tell the inspector, hey, I want you to look closely underneath. All right, we noticed that the toilet looked like it may be leaking. Make sure that you pull the insulation back and check that for excess moisture. Or, hey, we noticed that there was rat poop in the corner of the house, check and see, look for rodent stuff. This age of house may have recalled plumbing called polybutylene. So that's our job. So you open the door for the inspector and then you communicate any of the buyer's concerns and or your concerns as the buyer's agent to the inspector to make sure that things are picked up that may otherwise be left behind. All right, so inspection, and then we also make sure that the appraisal gets ordered. And the appraisal has to be ordered within the inspection time frame. So if you got a 10-day inspection period, you need to make sure the lender is aware the buyer has an accepted offer. We do that through opening escrow. We send the info to the lender. Hey, Mr. Lender, Johnny got a pending offer. Here's the contract. We're doing the inspection on Tuesday. We'd really like to have the appraisal ordered by Wednesday to make sure that we're hitting those timelines. A lot of times the buyer's agent is also going to open the door for the appraiser, right? So that is another hit. You open it for the inspector. If the buyer's going to be there, you have to be present while the buyer's in the house. And then you open it for the appraisers. Now, typically, the buyer's not going to be present for the appraisal. The appraiser's a neutral third party. They don't want to talk to anybody about prices. If values are brought up, they may say they can't do the appraisal because they feel like they're being pushed one way or another. So you open up the door for the appraiser, you shut up, let them do their job, then you make sure the house is locked up. During the inspection, we may come across items that need to be taken care of. That's really where another spot where a buyer's agent is worth their weight in gold is, okay, we have a list of maybe 40 items that the home inspector found. There's a nick in the wall here. The range oven doesn't have a bracket. We're missing a CO detector. There's a crack in the foundation. Red flag, right? Looks like the roof is is near the end of life. We need to call a roofer. So when we get the inspection, negotiating repairs is huge. That's where you can make or break a sale. So you need to make sure that as soon as you get the home inspection, you look it over thoroughly, make some notes as the professional as to what you think needs to be fixed or items that you would recommend being fixed. Talk to your buyer about it. Say, hey, these things are kind of critical. Is there anything that I missed that is important to you? You know, because the home inspection report may be 40 or 50 pages, and that can be daunting. I heard this morning, actually, if you want to keep a really good secret, put it in a book, right? Because most people are not going to read every single page of it. That's your job as the buyer's agent, to go through all the minutia, all the details, and find anything that's an issue and make sure the buyer is aware of the condition of the property before they move forward. Now, items that need to be taken care of, we have a couple options. We can either ask the seller to drop the price. We can ask the seller to give some sort of a credit in lieu of making repairs. So right now, contractors are super busy. So if you've got 2 weeks to close and it needs a new roof, and roofers in the middle of summer are out 6 weeks, what do? We just did a deal where it's like, all right, Mr. Seller, you're going to write a check for the amount to the roofer at close, and we're going to schedule the roofing later. Seller pays for the roof, buyer gets a new roof, but it didn't hold up the close. The other option is, so what I say, drop the price, have a credit, and if the seller's not willing to do anything, that can be a time to walk away, get the earnest money refunded, and find a better house, or a house that's a better fit for your buyer. So in that, in those negotiations, we have good contacts with contractors. If there's questions about things, we have guys that we can call that will pick up the phone. It will show up in a reasonable time frame to get us answers as to, yes, this is a big deal, no, it's not a big deal, and or how much is this going to cost, and when can we get it done, right? So, because we do hundreds of transactions, we're gonna see more inspections than anyone else. We're gonna know more what repairs are costing. We're gonna know things that are important to our buyer and important to the home sale and purchase process. So inspections, negotiations are huge. We ultimately, at the end of the day, are advocates for our buyers. Okay, they're out there alone. We're on a big team. We have some push. We want to make sure that we can get our people the best deal and negotiate anything that they need negotiating. And also let our buyers know it's okay to walk away from a sale if it doesn't feel good or if it's a bad deal, right? Because they may feel locked in at this point with all this paperwork they signed and earnest money deposited at the title company. That's why we need to be in constant communication, right? Talk to them 5 times the first 5 days, and then at least every Tuesday until the transaction's done, and make sure that we're advocating for their best interest through the transaction. The best part is buyer's agents are free to buyers. At least in this market, the seller pays both sides of the commission, so there's no cost to the buyer for using a buyer's agent, but there are, I think as you can see here with my chicken scratch, quite a few benefits. Then on top of the advocacy, it's also taking care of people after the sale. If you buy a house from us, the Rutledge Property Group, and you have a question in a week, in a month, in a year, in 10 years, you're our customer and you're our customer for life. If you have roof questions, call me, I got roofers. If you're curious about what your house is worth, call us. We'll shoot over there. We sold you the house. We know it pretty well. We'll be able to give you a ballpark pretty quick as to what your house is worth. I had a guy call me yesterday. He's not thinking about selling, but he needs to refinance his house and get some money out because interest rates are low right now. I said, hey man, not a problem. Tell me everything you've done to the house since you bought it. Shoot that over to me in a text message. I'll run some quick comps and let him know your house will probably appraise between these two numbers. So before he spends $1,000 on an appraiser, he's going to get a good idea of whether or not it's worth even moving forward with the refinance because he's a customer for life. So once you buy from us, you have access to us forever. When you have friends and family wanting to buy or sell, we're here. If they just have questions, they're working with another agent, we're here. We're gonna follow up 30 days after the close, 6 months, and then once a year. Happy anniversary. I did 2 of those the other day. What's up, dude? Thanks for buying a house from me. Need anything? I'm here. Click. So that's buyer agency. So the big things to take away for the buyer agents is you need to be there for the home inspection. It's your responsibility to open the door. It's your responsibility to be present anytime the buyer's present. Buyer wants to look at it to measure for furniture. You got to be there. You got to stay there the whole time. When the appraisal is scheduled, you need to be there to open the door for the appraiser and do your best not to talk about values with anybody. Don't want to screw anything up. Did I miss anything?
I think the biggest thing too is inspection timelines and just making sure that they're within their timelines if they do want to walk and protecting their earnest money.
And that's why we have calendars. So everything we do is on a calendar. We're going to let you know the day before your inspection period's up. Yo, you have until tomorrow at 5 to kill this deal. How are you feeling? You still like the house? Are we good with the condition? Okay, cool, let's rock and roll. Or, I'm getting cold feet. I don't know what to do. I didn't sleep last night. This is our first rodeo. We're also not cowboys. We do this a lot. None of us are going to financially be made or broken by a single transaction. I will not miss my mortgage payment if you decide to terminate the transaction and find a better house. So we're here for you, and we're going to let you know that those timeframes are being hit. That's a guarantee.
Thought you weren't a cowboy.
Yeah, I'm a cowboy now. Bye.